Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into a film that really captures a strange paradox, I think, of the modern action blockbuster. 2013's A Good Day to Die Hard, this fifth installment, right? In the John McClane saga. It somehow managed to pull in serious money at the box office while at the same time getting absolutely mauled by critics.
Yeah, that paradox is exactly what we need to get into today. Our mission, really, is to cut through all that noise and figure out why.
Yeah.
Because this film, based on the material we looked at, it isn't just, a weak sequel.
No.
It's actually a pretty fascinating case study in how studios sometimes prioritize, let's say, market access, getting a broader audience, maybe over the established identity of a franchise.
Right.
So we're going to look at those specific creative fails, like the infamous villain problem.
Oh, yeah.
But also the logistical stuff, like that whole mess surrounding the film's rating.
Yeah, and the starting line for Die Hard is just so high, isn't it? I mean, the 1988 original is just...
Russell,
okay.
a classic.
So by the time we get to number 5, skepticism was already kind of building up. Even the previous one, Live Free or Die Hard.
Well, that split the fan base, didn't it? Questions about tone, whether McClanes still fit.
Right, the whole analog hero in a digital world thing felt a bit stretched for some.
Exactly. And then when the early reports started coming out about the global cuts maybe being softer than the R rating they got in the U.S., fans definitely smelled trouble.
Which makes sense. And it's pretty clear the filmmakers knew they had to, hit the ground running, hit the gas immediately to try and overcome that skepticism.
So we start our journey, naturally, jumping right in. McClane's heading to Moscow.
That's right. The core premise gets set up really fast. John McClane is off to Russia because his estranged son, Jack, that's Jay Courtney, has apparently landed himself in a Russian jail.
But, before he can even figure out the Cyrillic on the taxi signs, McClane basically walks right into a massive, very organized attack on a courthouse.
Yeah, total chaos. And it turns out his son is right in the middle of it, involved in escaping this key political prisoner, Yuri Komarov. It just explodes instantly.
And here's the plot twist, the kind of complicated bit you need to justify all the mayhem that follows. Jack isn't just some screw-up.
Right.
He's actually CIA. He got himself arrested just to get close to Komarov, because Komarov has this secret file, something that implicates a really corrupt Russian official, Viktor Shagarin.
Okay, so Shagarin is the big bad behind the scenes.
Exactly. He ordered the courthouse attack to silence Komarov. What he didn't count on, obviously, was John McClane showing up, the ultimate wild card.
The fly in the ointment, as always. But what's kind of undeniable, even with all the criticism, is the sheer energy right from the start.
Oh, definitely.
Despite the critical savaging, multiple reviews we saw said basically the same thing. It's dumb, loud, and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In the first, 15 minutes, you get this really brutal gunfight and then this absolutely relentless car chase. It barely gives you time to think about the plot holes.
And that early car chase, actually, that's one of the interesting production details we found. What helps it stand out, maybe compared to some of the CGI fists we see now,
right,
is that the production really leaned into using real stunts, practical effects.
Ah, okay. That makes a difference.
It does. That commitment in those early scenes, it adds to that frantic, high-tempo feel that, at least for a little while, makes it feel like a proper old-school action movie.
So the action's there, turned up to 11. But what about the heart, the emotional core? They had to try and ground it with the family thing, right? This is the first time we see McClane actually teaming up with his adult son.
Yeah, Jack.
Did the materials suggest that father-son dynamic actually worked? Or did it just kind of weigh things down?
Well, it seems like the film tries to sidestep the usual heavy family drama by framing it more as an entertaining buddy movie.
Ah, okay. Less angst, more banter.
Kind of. It sacrifices maybe the deeper emotional stuff for just, kinetic fun. The sources we saw suggested there's a refreshing chemistry between Bruce Willis and Jay Courtney. Argued they complemented each other pretty well as an action pair.
But hang on, refreshing chemistry. Didn't some of the reviews also hint that the drama felt a bit tacked on? I mean, they do have to talk about the abandonment issues and all that baggage, don't they?
They do, yeah, they touch on it. But it seems they managed it without letting it get too schmaltzy, as one source put it.
Right. Avoid the schmaltz.
The dialogue hits the family problems, but the focus snaps right back to the bloodshed and the next big explosion. They keep those chats pretty concise, kind of squeezed in between the action beats.
Interesting. And what's this about a nod to Indiana Jones? We saw a detail mention, something about an exchange paying homage to Indy and his dad.
Yeah, that's a nice little deep cut, isn't it?
Yep.
It suggests the filmmakers were at least thinking about classic cinematic pairings, trying to tap into that specific energy.
Yeah.
The grumpy, experienced dad teamed up with the capable but maybe reckless son.
Like Sean Connery and Harrison Ford. Okay. Makes sense.
Sort of aiming for that vibe.
The other big elephant in the room, which has kind of haunted the franchise since number 4, really, is the age question. Is John McClane just too old for this stuff?
Yeah, that comes up a lot. What we gathered from the sources suggests that Willis more than holds his own. He might look a bit more tired.
Understandably.
Right. But the action, the humor, and especially those over-the-top set pieces, those apparently still make it feel like a die-hard movie, despite the whole father-son dynamic shift. And the humor, that's key, right? That helps keep the classic McClane identity alive.
Yeah, the wisecracks amidst the chaos. And just a tiny detail for the hardcore fans, we noted that Kevin Smith's character from Live Free or Die Hard, Warlock, he doesn't make a cameo here. And depending on how you felt about that character, well, maybe that's a small plus for this one's slightly more streamlined feel.
Could be. Okay, so if the action generally works and the buddy dynamic is, let's say, passable, why did the critics just absolutely destroy this movie? And this brings us to arguably the most vital ingredient in the whole Die Hard recipe.
The villain. Has to be.
Absolutely, the villain.
And this is where it seems the whole thing just kind of falls apart. The biggest weakness, hands down, is the lack of a really strong, memorable bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, when your benchmark is Hans Gruber and Simon Gruber, you need someone who can really command the screen. These villains just didn't.
Exactly. The franchise needs a foil who feels smart, menacing, someone who justifies the scale of the chaos McClane causes. And here we get, 3 main antagonists?
Right.
And they'll kind of underwhelm.
Right.
First, there's Radovoj Bukic as Ilik. And then these little hints of, eccentric evil genius. Remember that weird scene where he's tap dancing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The tap dancing. Bizarre.
Super bizarre.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the consensus was he just pales greatly compared to the Grubers. Not even close.
And then there's Yulia Snigger as Irina. Looks the part, sure, peeling out of a catsuit. But the critique was basically no additional screen presence, just kind of there. No real threat.
Yeah, more style than substance, perhaps. And finally, the supposed mastermind, Viktor Shakarin, the corrupt politician pulling the strings.
Right, the guy Jack was after initially.
Yeah, but he never feels threatening enough. It's like the danger is too bureaucratic, too distant, which is the total opposite of the original Die Hard, right? That claustrophobic, immediate threat.
Totally. A weak villain, or in this case, a weak set of villains, is a huge creative miss. Okay, but let's shift gears to the other big controversy. The thing that got fans really riled up before the movie even came out. The rating issue.
Ah, yes. This is the core logistical problem.
Yeah.
This is where the studio strategy really comes under fire. The U.S. cut got an R rating, right? Which you kind of need for the proper McClane intensity and language.
You need the yippee-ki-yay.
You absolutely do. But the studio decided to release a significantly watered-down, lower-rated cut, like a 12A or PG-13 equivalent in the UK and other markets. Why? For wider audience access, more potential ticket sales.
And this wasn't a one-off, was it? The material points out this is part of an unfortunate trend. Taken 2 got mentioned as doing something similar.
Exactly. Release a softer cut in theaters, then maybe put the harder version out later on Blu-ray or whatever. It feels a bit like a bait and switch for the fans who want the full experience.
And the most symbolic casualty of this lower rating, for McClane himself.
It's almost perfectly ironic, isn't it? Because of the cuts, McClane was apparently unable to utter his famous catchphrase.
The one line, which is so weird, right? Because even with that censorship, the film still dropped a few F-bombs anyway.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So you have this bizarre situation where they cut the most iconic line, the definitive Die Hard moment, but leave in just enough swearing to still potentially annoy the people they were trying not to offend with the lower rating. It just seems confused.
Deeply confused. And it fundamentally changes the experience for a huge chunk of the global audience.
Which leads us right into the criticism of the studio's overall strategy. It wasn't just called out, it was described as peculiar and even irresponsible.
Irresponsible, yeah. Because think about who they were targeting with that softer rating.
Right.
They were essentially marketing the 5th film in a famously R-rated action series to, like, a 12-year-old audience. Kids who legally couldn't even see the original Die Hard.
That does seem odd when you put it like that.
It creates this really weird message.
Yeah.
And the sources highlighted 2 main consequences of this strategy, particularly for the loyal fan base and the brand's integrity.
Okay, what were they?
First, the obvious risk doing this Might actually encourage children to seek out the more violent films in the series before they're ready, which isn't great.
Probably not the intended outcome.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But maybe more damaging from a business standpoint. The established fans, the ones expecting the full R-rated Die Hard experience, they're left feeling cheated, frustrated.
Frustrated enough, as the material suggests, that they might just skip the cinema release entirely and, find the actual U.S. cut online instead of spending their precious cash on a watered-down product.
Exactly. That's a direct hit to the studio's bottom line, potentially, and it erodes that fan loyalty. You're basically telling your core audience their preferences don't matter as much as chasing a younger demographic.
So if we try and sort of synthesize this whole thing, A Good Day to Die Hard feels like a movie split right down the middle.
Yeah, pretty much. It kind of succeeds as just a loud, fast, jokey action buddy movie. It delivers the spectacle, the noise, and as we mentioned, some impressive stunt work. That part, arguably landed.
But the critical failure, and where it really stumbled for the fans, was that combination of, one, the creative compromises, especially the really weak villains,
Big problem.
and two, that overriding studio decision to go for broad market access with the rating cuts, even though it meant sacrificing the established, violent, R-rated soul of the Die Hard brand.
Right. It gave up what made McClane feel unique, maybe, just to be another big, loud action film that anyone could watch.
It lost its edge.
So this deep dive into, the creative missteps and the logistical choices behind A Good Day to Die Hard, it really does feel like a valuable snapshot of modern franchise management, doesn't it?
It really does.
The film delivered that kind of high-energy action that puts butts in seats, yeah, but it just fumbled those essential ingredients.
Yeah.
The compelling villain, the full R-rated punch, and, the character integrity that was kind of symbolized by losing that catchphrase.
And that really brings us to the bigger industry question that this whole situation throws up, doesn't it? This decision to chase a lower rating for maybe bigger opening weekend numbers, even if it means compromising the, artistic identity or the fan loyalty built up over decades.
Yeah, it's a trend.
It is becoming a trend. Yeah, we see it elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it raises this important question, something for you, the listener, to think about. When a studio chooses that wider audience access over the, let's call it artistic integrity or the established identity of a long-running franchise, which choice in the long run actually poses the greater risk to that brand's success?
It's a tough calculation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely something worth considering the next time you hear about a movie getting adjusted for different markets.